So the Internet of Things is a big term to capture the growing world, the emerging world of wireless and wearable devices, connected devices, everything being connected through wireless technologies. Sometimes people call it the Internet of Everything. And it will be fabulous in so many ways. Many, many innovations will arise that we will be very grateful for. But the dark side is that it could also be potentially so invasive of your privacy, and it could, in fact, grow a world of tracking of your connected devices and surveillance like we've never seen before. And the reason for this is, think of one of the common ones right now is the Fitbit. Everyone seems to have a Fitbit to monitor how much they walk, and that's great. If it serves as an incentive to you to walk more and get more exercise, wonderful. But do you know who is receiving the information on your Fitbit? It's not just you. And I don't expect the public to read all the legalese and the privacy policies and the terms of service. I want privacy to be embedded in these devices as a default setting, and I'll explain what I mean in a moment. But right now, as it stands, it's sort of like the Wild West of the Internet of Things. There are virtually no restrictions on who can access the data emanating out of your Fitbit or your wearable device. It could be your employer. It could be your insurer. It could be 100 other people. The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission in the United States, looked at 12 health apps, fitness apps, and other apps. And they found that the information was emanating out to 76 different parties, completely unknown to the individuals involved. This information is floating out there without any restrictions, and that's the exact opposite of privacy in terms of control. Privacy is all about the individual retaining control over who has access to their personal information. Right now, there's no control embedded in these devices. It's access to multiple third parties, largely unknown to the data subject, the individual, and this could come back to haunt them, because if, as is the case in several U.S. companies, employers are giving Fitbits out to their employees to encourage them to, take measures to improve their health. Lovely. How altruistic. Maybe not so, because the employer gets the data from your Fitbit, and the private insurer may also get that data, and they may decide you're not living up to the measures that are required or considered to be necessary to maintain a certain level of fitness. So that may impact you negatively. These are the unintended consequences that people just don't consider when they use these devices. And I don't fault the individuals, I fault the manufacturers. Because what I want them to do, I want them to embed privacy protective measures into the Fitbits themselves so that control can be retained on these appliances. There's something called privacy as the default. That's one of the 7 foundational principles of privacy by design. And what it means is if you embed privacy as a default setting into these devices, then the individual doesn't have to ask you, please protect my privacy. You can say to the individual, we are automatically protecting your privacy as a default setting. You don't have to ask us for it. We're going to give you privacy assurance from the get-go. And then if you want to consent to additional uses of the information, of course you're free to do so, but absent your positive consent, the information won't flow anywhere other than to yourself and to the intended party. Privacy as the default is huge in terms of raising the bar for privacy. And in this interconnected world that we're moving into, we're going to have privacy embedded into the devices, or we won't be able to put the genie back in the bottle. And that's a price I'm not willing to pay. We have to have privacy in this emerging world of Internet of Things, and we have the means to do so. And I should add one very positive development. In the European Union, they just passed a new law called the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. And in the GDPR, for the first time ever, the language of privacy by design and privacy as the default actually appear in the statute. So for the first time, privacy is being embedded in that will raise the bar dramatically in terms of compliance with the statute. This one new law will be replacing the 28 privacy laws of the 28 member countries of the EU. That in itself is huge. But the fact that they're also introducing privacy by design as part of this regulation will really raise the bar on privacy. So I'm optimistic that we will be able to embed privacy protective measures into these devices, enabling multiple wins, both privacy and the amazing functionality that will derive from these. Remember, under privacy by design, it's not privacy versus security or privacy versus functionality. It's privacy and functionality, not zero sum, but a positive, doubly enabling model that allows you to do both. Information is going to become more and more smart in terms of the smart devices and the connected features, etc. That element, if you retain control over the uses of that information, you will benefit from the smarts that will come with the data and the structures and the all the connected features we're going to be enjoying. So that, I mean, everybody hears about the fridge when it runs out of milk or butter, it'll somehow convey that to the store, to you, and it'll be replaced in no time. Great. That's such a trivial example, but that notion of ease that will offer assistance to you is great. But what we have to be careful of is make sure the smart that comes with these devices doesn't get transmitted beyond. It's all about unintended consequences. So when we think of cars, electric cars now that you can just charge overnight, and you might have a certain pattern of charging. What happens if the pattern becomes known widely and certain nights you don't charge, certain nights you're not present in the home? Where were you? Did you travel? Did you go away? Are you visiting someone else you shouldn't be visiting? I mean, all these things. When you're watching TV, if the TV, and there are many smart TVs now that you can use voice recorders to change the channel or give instructions to. It turns out the voice recorder also captures other conversations taking place nearby the recording device. Can you imagine these conversations being picked up? This is in the privacy of your own home, the last bastion of privacy. And if all your personal conversations with your children, the sweet nothings with your spouse, all these things are caught and then transmitted elsewhere, as well as the times at which you turn the device on and off, when you go to bed, when you wake up in the morning, all of these things can paint a very detailed profile of your life. And you better be in control of that. That's my comment about the smart features. The smart features are wonderful as long as you have an understanding of where the information is going and you can control it. If I can just add that privacy, as I've been saying, is all about control, personal control over the uses of your information. But the bigger picture, which is much more important, is privacy and its relationship to freedom. We know historically when countries lose privacy, they forego all freedom. It goes out the door. We have learned the lessons the hard way through historical examples. And what we have to ensure is that we want to preserve our privacy, not only to protect our information, but to ensure that we can enjoy freedom and liberty now and well into the future. That's the bigger picture I want people to keep in mind. It's just too important to give up.